That's a good topic right there. Okay.
Yeah.
Look at how Israel handled. Or we're on.
We're always on.
Okay, so hi everybody. This is the Rick Yifrach show, and you're here with Edo Weiss.
Oh, thank you. I always like being introduced as the guest on my show.
Yeah, it's good to have you here.
I'm the guest in this world.
Happy to have you here, and I'm happy to be here. So let's start by talking about
The most sensitive topic on Earth.
the most sensitive topic on Earth, which
I'll let you do all the talking, so if anybody gets canceled, it's you.
I've been canceled from life already, so it's no big deal.
Sure. Got nothing to lose.
It's a sensitive topic for me, and I know somebody that has, that really sympathizes, all the thizes with things that have to do with race. When you're Jewish, all you have to do is go online and go on a comment section somewhere, and you feel, what that's like.
Yeah, no, you could definitely get it going rather fast.
And
that's why I feel like a lot, like Jews, generally speaking, don't become racist.
Well,
because you're sensitive to it yourself. You're subject to the same type of, growing up in Israel is different. But let me give you the stage for a second.
Yeah, no, anti-Semitism is different from racism too. That's something that most people don't get. Like, what's the difference between anti-Semitism and racism? Oh, anti-Semitism is just racism towards Jews. No, it's not. That's not at all it. That's far from it. We'll get into that, but here's the thing, right? We're really trying to, as with the internet, with everything, with the world being more connected the way that it is now, it's getting. We're having to learn how to deal with seeing people, from different cultures, dealing with people from different cultures, and a lot of times the further the color of their skin is from our own, the more different they are from us. That's not necessarily true, but that's kind of how we seem to correlate the two things. So,
right, I gotta make some notes about what you just said, but go ahead.
I noticed I lived in Israel when I was born there, but came to the U.S. As a kid, then went back there when I was 12. And one thing that you definitely notice is that there are, Jews aren't white. Most Israelis are not white.
Right.
There are European Jews, survivors mostly, or those that came, in the, Aliyah, the migrations, late 1800s and then early 1900s. But then came all the Jews that were kicked out of the Arab countries in Africa, Middle East.
Or escaped
In many cases. So you have Moroccan Jews, you have Libyan Jews.
Thank God for Moroccan Jews. Man, the fish. The fish. Thank you.
You're welcome. I'm half Moroccan.
I know.
The music too, but the people are. They're great. No, don't get me wrong. They're wonderful people. But then
hey, you want Moroccan fish? It comes with a price.
Yeah,
that's it.
I'm willing to pay it. And Syrian Jews, right? Even Russian Jews are different from German Jews, and German Jews also, they have a sense of of that superiority, right? Like they're the best of the Jews.
Right. One of my best friends is Iraqi German Jew. It's a crazy combo.
He's
mega smart, but man, he'll whip you into order like this.
Right.
And math, oh my God, Iraqi Jews are extremely
good
mathematical.
At math, really?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's look at, like, there's also the what are they called?
Shout out to Shemesh.
What up, Shemesh? the Kurds, Kurdim.
Yeah.
You know, when one of the first things that my dad taught me when I went to Israel when I was 12, 13, turning 13, is all the stereotypes that go along with each type of person, right? Moroccans are loud and they fight and they think, they're hot shit. The Kurds are super fucking strong and they own all the construction worker businesses and they're very, good at what they do. There's, Ashkenazi Jews, European Jews are the nerds, there's then, you get Ethiopian Jews. You get all these different types of people coming together. And there isn't this segregation of people, right?
I never felt it as a child.
No, I didn't either. There are neighborhoods that, the Kurdish neighborhoods, there are the more Moroccan, there are the more, smaller minorities, Lebanese. And
I can't speak for the entire country, but growing up, my experience was I didn't know the difference between anyone until my late teens.
Wow. So, I mean,
it's good.
Things have advanced. For me, there was still a difference. And you know how Israel kind of took up the challenge of racism? I mean, you identify all as Jews, but it's not like everybody got along. They didn't like each other when they first came.
Yeah, there were clashes for sure.
When Jews came from Yemen, they were put in tents. Same thing with the Iraqi Jews. They were treated horribly for a long time.
Right. It's the story of humanity. Every time we go into the unknown, first we treat it with fear and hatred.
Yeah, it is.
And sometimes with violence as well.
Definitely. There's always separation. But slowly, neighborhoods started mixing and, dark people, light people, and then they started marrying, So you get, half dark skin, half light skin, and the kids are always beautiful, right? Isn't it the truth with, half Ashkenazi, half Mizrahi?
Why do you think hot IDF girls is such a big topic online?
It's the mix. It really is. It's those. And the way I think that Israel handled it differently than anybody else, tell me if I'm wrong, or I don't know if this was your experience because you're younger than me, but we did it by making fun of each other on TV.
Right.
By one person would, play out the stereotype either of what he was or what somebody else was, but that somebody else would play out the stereotype of what the other person was.
When you say it, and I'm thinking about it, it's absolutely true, and it's still ongoing.
Yeah.
And we do that with everything tension in Israel, thinking about it. We do that with government, with race, with differences, with political differences. There's always at least one show every weekend that absolutely makes a comedian effort out of all that stuff.
Right.
And it's hilarious.
It's hilarious.
And we love it. And we laugh at each other together with each other.
That's exactly
And nobody
right.
gets spared.
No.
It's lovely. And I think it's a really good concept that you brought up because comedy is it's really high up there, almost like with music, with just
how it connects with people.
Yeah. Taking down something that could be extremely intense and stressful and breaking it down to a core thing,
right?
And digesting it in a fun, interesting, exciting way that it's not offensive,
right? And you can address, what are the bad things that people get? There's laziness, there's okay.
I mean, you can get a square head. That sometimes it's not that easy to overcome. You know the joke?
I think that's about the Kurds. No?
I don't even know because I'm not a comedian, but I think the joke was about Georgians, Gruzinim.
Ah, yeah, okay.
So they have a little bit of the
flat head.
So
in the back?
Somebody would say, when they're playing soccer, like, hey, get it ready for what do you call it? With
head spike. I don't know.
Spike, whatever. We're so lame at soccer. Yeah, there's a word in Hebrew that I know, but and they would ask which corner. Because it's not. Well,
that's I mean, there's truth to these things, and the approach was and it was to make TV shows about it and laugh about it. Hagash Hashim, right?
I guess that's
all
really
they
good.
did,
Right.
right?
It's diffusing. It's really, yeah, diffusing. I think is the best word I can come up with. It really takes the tension out of it and makes it helps focus on what's good.
Yeah.
And alleviate the stuff that it's not. Instead of saying it in a stupid, offensive way, it's really more of a we're all flawed. Accept it.
Right.
Live with it. Enjoy it. And all the things that we bring to the table are for everybody to enjoy.
Right. But I mean, the laughing at people has to be done, proportionately.
Of course,
also.
Tactfully, proportionally. When you take it to the street and you use what you heard to hurt someone, it's a different thing while you say the same thing because the tone changed and the intention changed.
Sure.
But of course, I agree. Comedy has a limit. It's not like you can make fun of everything and it will be good.
Right.
You can say the same thing in a different context and it will be either funny and everybody will enjoy it.
Right.
And maybe even healing.
Yeah.
And the same thing in a different context could be extremely hurtful and turn someone's life into a horror show.
Absolutely. Like, okay, this is something that only Israelis will understand. And like, what is the big stereotype of Jews amongst the many? But the biggest one, they're greedy, right?
Money.
Penny pinchers, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't see that at all. Maybe there are some that there are, but in Israel, what type of Jews do we call the greedy Jews?
Who?
The Parsim.
The Parsim, yeah.
Yeah, Parsi, you Persian.
Exactly. Yeah. It's true.
And, so there's...
I guess it's relative to your point.
Yeah.
You could be greedy to the world or greedy to the specific relative inside the Jew community, but I really don't see it as a Jew thing.
Yeah, I guess. What? There's a joke that I was just thinking about as we were talking about this, and I don't even know if it's a joke. It's just kind of, maybe you told it to me years ago, but I asked like how.
I take no blame.
How how are the Ethiopians, doing overall, in military and all that, just being Israelis and. Their kind of stereotype is they're extremely nice. They're overly nice. Mm-hmm. I don't know if that's still the case. Like if you ask a Moroccan, hey, can you tell me what time it is? He'll tell you, go buy a watch, right?
Yep.
And if you ask
or a New Yorker,
you ask I don't know, some kind of a Ashkenazi European Jew, he'll tell you 2:30 and walk away. And, you ask the Ethiopian, excuse me, can you tell me what time it is? That he'll take the watch off of his hand and give it to you and say, have a nice day.
That's the extreme. But the point is made. And I think it's a different in culture, because they brought something to the table that some other cultures just didn't have. So
right.
Somebody could be thankful for the experience and for just having an opportunity, and some other person coming from a different place thinks, the heck with it, I deserve everything.
Yes.
I feel like my experience with the Ethiopian Aliyah migration over the time that I've had to experience. I mean, it's been ongoing more than me, more than my timeline.
Right.
That I've got to experience. But my personal experience was mainly in the military.
Yeah.
Because I didn't really have the chance to go to school with many Ethiopians.
No.
It is it's a military or ex-military. Folks either in active, more higher rank officers and stuff.
Right.
Which in that case wouldn't be yet Ethiopians in the timeline because they started Aliyah. They wouldn't have the time to retire and have kids to go to school with me.
Right.
So that was just the only reason why they weren't there yet. So my experience started in the military with them. And it was always a great one.
Yeah.
Of course, there's the extremes where somebody comes from a broken family and got thrown, from foster home to foster home.
Dude,
Yeah. So I'm not talking about those extremes, which even then wasn't like anything crazy. But generally speaking, they were the fastest runners.
Yeah.
And then they were the best athletes. Usually they would, clean every achievement rather quickly with humility that most people just don't have.
Yeah, that I noticed about.
Right.
I mean, the people that
Kindness
I've
and
gotten to know.
humility was, I think, a big thing.
Yeah,
And it's just, I think, where you come from. And then
Of
other
course.
people would get sometimes similar achievements, and they would be like the biggest peacock walking around and like ever.
yeah, right.
And, yeah, everybody should know what just happened. It's just where you come from and what you bring. So I can't speak for experience of other people now, but that was my personal experience, which I loved.
Yeah. I know there's problems, with some Ethiopians. I don't even know what it is, if they're Christians or if they're like, they were forced into converting to Christianity,
Yeah.
but they're originally Jewish and they're coming and they're having a hard time because they're not integrating or the people are not accepting them.
Right.
Usually it's a little bit of both. But yeah, on that subject, I think that was a good way to handle it. But we kind of are going the other direction of let's be very sensitive about it. And I understand that too, because the experience of a Black American in America is something that you're just not going to understand if you're white.
I think I'm not going to understand it also because I'm Israeli.
Yeah.
Because growing up in Israel, the exposure to that from a childlike thought, the plasticity of the openness to that idea wasn't there because we weren't thinking racist. What? It wasn't a thing.
It doesn't play a role in
the only
Israel's
thing you
society.
experience from African Americans in Israel is music
Yeah.
and
Right.
swag and cool. That's
Right.
all you know. So when I first came here, I was so untactful, if that's a word,
Yeah.
when I talk to people because I can't help my color of my skin. I'm white.
Right.
And when I approached other people, I always wanted to interact with the cool people.
Yeah, sure.
And it's just like I got the reaction
Yeah.
from what is normal in the States.
Yeah.
So if some white person talks to, like 3 Black people that looks to me the coolest in the world because I'm a complete foreigner,
Right.
they give you the same reaction they would give to another American because that's just what it is. So that norm, something that was happening in the environment, was weird to me because I was like, why are we not just normal?
Right.
I didn't know the tension.
Yeah.
I didn't, even if I knew it in the back of my head that it's a thing, I guess a good way to say this, I was privileged enough to not even be aware of it, to a sense.
That's interesting that you say it that way because you're right. There isn't. Is there even a word for racism in Hebrew?
Gizanut,
Jeez, I don't even know that word.
because nobody uses it.
Yeah. I know the word
sounds-
gizi, which
yeah.
means like cool.
Yeah, you can say it's more common now, and I think it's almost like a trend that we slowly adopted from the States.
Yeah, maybe.
Because the Sudani immigration to Israel didn't fly that good like the Ethiopian one.
No.
And then Gizanut became a big headline word.
Right.
So
And
kids
that's-
growing up in Israel now, they know exactly what racism is.
Right.
And if they would come here, they would probably act more appropriate when they were talking to anybody that's, not their color, or they would know to be a little bit more careful when they're interacting in a way that's not offensive,
That's interesting.
because I would be completely, how they say appropriation now, right?
Yeah.
That's exactly what I would do as a
Sure.
complete moron. I just want to be like, yo,
What's up?
yo,
Yeah,
I've heard,
absolutely.
I mean, because I'm an alien, coming into this, I'm thinking,
we didn't have these concepts. These concepts didn't exist. I saw there was a guy that wrote an article, or did he make a video recently? And he's Mexican, and he's he wants to write about how the racist Jews or Israelis, Zionists, are against the Palestinians. So he goes, oh, the people in front of me, they were white and they got right through and, no problem, have a nice day. Then they got to me, a dark-skinned Mexican, and they thought I was Palestinian, and they asked me all these questions, and they were so, difficult with me. And then they saw that my name was Rodriguez, and they, oh, sorry, sir, yeah, have a nice day. And I had to write it. It was on YouTube, that's right. I had to write a comment. I'm like, more than most Israelis are darker than you.
Yeah.
I said, you're a fucking idiot. You're obviously coming here just to start shit. And that's what so many people are doing when it comes to Israel. It's just people want to start shit. They want to make it worse, right? They want to, I think, this is the way I see it. When people don't like talking about anti-Semitism, they don't like hearing about it, right? Barry Weiss goes on Joe Rogan, 2/3 of the people, give it thumbs down because they don't want to hear that, hey, this is a thing that exists and we recognize it, right? You hear it, you deal with it, who cares? Move along. But there are some things that are said that are dangerous. Sure.
Well, just like a lot of white people don't like to hear about racism because they don't really feel it.
Right.
So I get it. I totally get it because I saw it from the other side, the blindness. And
sure.
Yes, to your point, that doesn't mean that there's not going to be individuals that are going to take advantage of the situation and just go out there, trigger happy virtue signaling.
Absolutely.
That's just what it's going to be. There's going to be extremes on both ends.
Yep, grifters.
Yeah. And, my friend that sat here where you're sitting right now not too long ago told me, I asked him, like, isn't that annoying? And he said, no, it's the growing pains that come with the process that's inevitable. And, to somewhat of a degree, I agree with that we are improving on that, I think.
Yeah.
Yuval Harari would also say that we're conforming as a humanity in general.
That's true. Yes.
But it has to come with some price and maybe some growing pains, if you will. And the growing pains are these ulcers that are coming all along and just making it just worse.
Yeah.
Like you said, going on YouTube and doing something like that is worse. It's not better.
No, right. Look how bad these people are. Right? I mean,
I don't even like anti-anything, protests. In the Ernest Becker. Actually, no, that was not Ernest Becker. That was from the anti-war film thing. And you recommended it to me, and it's basically looking into another thing about anti-war films and how anti are they really. Right. And at the end, he says, I really like this quote from Mother Teresa. Teresa. I can never say her name properly. And the quote goes something along the lines of, "Don't call me if you're having an anti-war rally or protest. Call me when you're having a pro-peace protest." And I like that approach because it's not the answer to everything protests. No, sometimes we have to go against something else, but also, if the ratio between for the togetherness versus what currently we have, which is anti the, whatever else is we're fighting, if it's racism or whatever we're fighting, is out of proportion. The ratio is wrong. Like, there's too much, let's use this vehicle to go, out and fight versus bring the people together. And I think it's just a subproduct of the vast majority of people want the right thing. They want the good thing. Yeah. And then there's the outliers, like always, that pull the masses apart. And
there's the 8%.
Yes, you told me about that. The 8% in the spectrum that just fuels this horrible fire that nobody really wants. It's not the result we're looking for.
Right. And look, but man, I've fought with this idea so much in my head. Yeah. Like, is it necessary? Do people do have legitimate concerns? Look, the way that America has treated African Americans, blacks, right? All we have done since white people. I mean, I didn't have anything to do with it. You didn't, but it's America. We are America. So what I say we in that sense is said, okay, you're free to go. Now go. Oh, yeah, no, but just don't come to our neighborhoods. Oh no, just get the fuck far away from us, right? And then the next generation came and said the same thing, and
because they were brought up by the same people.
right, and it's just kept going, and instead of just having fixed it at the beginning, they were supposed to get a piece of land and something, some compensation, so that they're on steady ground. They've never gotten anything. There has never been any steady ground for Black Americans, right? They were slaves. They've tried to improve. Every time they've tried to improve, they've gotten knocked down. They've got redlined. They've got institutional racism is a real thing. It absolutely is, right? Police
For the longest time, it's been the segregation was just normal.
Yeah, right. And and it was,
people forget that whole half bus thing.
I mean, Chicago is still so segregated, and the people that live in the in the ghetto and on the South Side, I mean, they grow up in the neighborhoods that they do, and it's not their fault that they were born into that, and that's all they know.
Right. You were born on South Side too. Oh, well, born in Israel, but lived on South Side.
Yeah, but I mean, we had, I had parents that, well, I don't want to get into my parents, but there was some foundation at least. So you need to have.
No, I say that just to say that you've seen it firsthand.
Yeah, I have, definitely. Yeah, growing up in Cicero, definitely seen.
Racism.
Yes, all sorts of things associated with it. But look, and people that say I'm not racist, I have a black friend. That whole stereotype or that whole mentality. Oh, how can I be racist? I have a black friend. Look.
Yeah, it's just like saying I'm not gay because I'm not homophobic because I have a gay friend.
Right, and the thing is, what has happened is the same thing that happened, and nobody has talked about. Let's bring it back to Jews. World War II, right? It wasn't like it was just Germany, right? You had all the countries extremely, with a section of, with a political sect that was pro-Nazi, right? In the Ukraine, in Romania, the Eastern Europeans were happy to take part in the Einsatzgruppen, SS, the ones that went and shot Jews in mass burial graves.
Yep.
2 million died that way. The Germans didn't do it. Most of it was done by Ukrainians, Romanians, Lithuanians that were more than happy to do it. Then World War II ends. Germany is convinced, through years of propaganda that, the world is run by Jews, that everything is the Jews' fault, and they hate them. They hate them. And
Joseph Goebbels was a genius man.
Yeah, he was.
I love his quote. How's it go? Tell a lie enough times it becomes the truth, and the bigger the lie, the better.
Yeah, he's come up with all kinds of things. He says, stuff about democracy is the is the most foolish types of governments of them all, because it will eventually vote itself in a totalitarian state, which. Right. That's what happened to the Nazis. Shit, Athens did that, in 411 BC. Yep. They a bunch of things went wrong, and they elected tyrants.
You'd think that after all these lessons of history, we wouldn't keep repeating them, but that's not how it works.
No, the only lesson we learn in history is that we don't learn any lessons from history.
Well, I think we learned that history repeats itself. Or it rhymes, at least.
It rhymes, yeah, Mark Twain. But the point that I was getting really quick, and I'll finish on this thought, is that after World War II ended, the people that hated Jews with everything that they had in them didn't suddenly say, Jews are great now. We see what we did wrong, and we're so sorry.
Right.
It continued. When Oskar Schindler, first he ran away. When he came back to Germany in the early 60s, I mean, they mocked and made fun and threw stones at him, and he was hated because he saved those 1,000 or so Jews. It wasn't like all this anti-Semitism went away. It changed. It went from right wing to left wing. So suddenly you have Germans that are hijacking planes with the PLO, right? But these were probably kids of parents that were very anti-Semitic, but on the right.
Interesting.
Yeah, just
I think to your point, it doesn't go away just because we've beat it symbolically. Now it's rippled, it's embedded itself in the generations, and that's going to take a long time to get out. And that's the same thing that's happening here in the States.
It is. And it's a painful process.
Yeah,
and
it's painful. It's really painful. Nobody is having a good time.
Nope.
It's just, everybody's either feeling guilty or
they don't understand.
Or they don't understand. I don't understand, to be honest. I prefer to be on the don't understand side than act like, go on YouTube or on TikTok and say, blah, 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 this and this. Like, I really don't know. It's an extremely complicated problem. Extremely.
Yes.
And it's easy to identify the outliers where I know that what they're doing is taking advantage of the situation.
Of course.
And say, you see this? This is what they do. Well, just say they. That's the most horrible thing to do.
Yeah.
But it's not the bigger picture. What you just explained is the bigger picture. Racism lives within the generations until it dies, and it can take generations.
It needs to be fixed, and I think that there has to be some kind of compensation to the people that have suffered from it, the minorities that have suffered from it. The majority will always tell the minority, why can't you just, be like us? Just, get your shit together. Well, they've never learned that. They weren't grown, into a family. They weren't born into a family that had a stable mother and father, because that mother and father didn't have a stable mother and father. They were stripped of their identity when they were brought here on ships. They don't know what country they're from. They just know they're from Africa. Right. They don't know what language, they spoke. So these are things that are really important to consider. There is no identity, right? At least Jewish, I know I have an identity. I know that, the Bible that 2/3 of the world considers their own history is just a history of a small tribe that I happen to come from, and the rest of the world appropriated it for themselves. That's going to sound really shitty, but it's the truth. That it'll make people angry. But the Europeans weren't the Greeks were writing their own history, but definitely not Western Europe. Eastern Europe, the Greeks were, and then eventually the Romans. But they took the Jews' history instead, and took Noah and the ark and Adam and Eve, and it's not Athena bursting out of Zeus's head, and it's not Pandora opening the box and letting out all the vices, and except for hope. That's a good story, but that's for another time.
The story of hope from Pandora.
Pandora's box. The entire story is it's beautiful, and it makes so much sense. Greek mythology it made a lot of sense, of taking the world and creating a plausible scenario for everything that exists, and I wish the world adopted the Greek story. If they would have kept that instead, why take Yahweh? Why did the Romans destroy our temple and then take our God? And then
those are good questions. I don't know the answer to that.
But I mean, you don't hear anybody complaining about that. I'm the first person that probably anybody that will ever hear this that has brought that up. That sounds cocky, but that's not what I'm going for. That's really not what I'm going for. It's just there are these little things that you don't realize, and it's very hard for people to put it into, words that don't sound offensive. Just like, why can't?
I don't even know how to navigate those waters. I ask Rachel everything. Like, does that sound offensive? She's like, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, I don't mean it.
No.
But I don't know how to navigate, so I'm super careful, and I feel like the only way around this is just remain open-minded, willing to learn from your mistakes, And some people see it as like, oh, you're turning into some kind of a bitch.
No, right.
And-
SJW.
Right. And it's not that way. I'm not going to give up, my identity and my life and
No.
the way I think. But I was always willing to learn, always loving everybody just for who they are. And
Sure.
if somebody pulls a gun on me, it's never going to have anything to do with the color of their skin, the way I
Right.
react.
Right. Right.
Period. So I get how we got here just based on history and the data that backs it up.
Right.
But for how we go forward, that's what I don't know. How can I be the best person to help this go forward as an individual? Because
I have
we're a
thought about
collective.
that. I thought about it like
So what do
way
you
too
do?
much, and I mean, over the last 15 years, really, like I have journals that I've filled up with, the thoughts of like, here, let me put myself in this person's shoes. Let me really see what it's like, not having an identity.
Right.
Just having that stolen from you. Your identity is you are a slave. Well, I mean, then you can say, well, the Jews were slaves in Egypt. Yeah, but then they went and, eventually built a land. We don't even know how true the slaves in Egypt thing was. And so,
Plus, the generational memory is kind of erased by then.
Yeah, that was, 3,200 years ago. But, the black people that live in America have a unique position in history. It's different than any other people.
Sure.
Just like Jews in the world are unique in history
In their own way.
in that they were exiled, thrown out of their own country, and kept their identity, mostly because they were forced to. They didn't want to integrate. They had their books, they had their ways, and through
And that happens to so many other people's.
I mean, people have gotten, have been scattered, and they just mixed or, I don't know, died out is the right word to say. That's not a good way to put it. Jews are just a unique, story in that they kept their identity throughout being persecuted, throughout being
Sure.
kicked out of this place and that place.
Yeah, that's something that Black Americans were stripped of.
Yeah, they were stripped of their identity. Jews were stripped of their land. It's and I mean, how do you fix it? Well, you didn't fix anti-Semitism by giving the Jews Israel, but you definitely gave them safety. Where
Right.
the big thing before was they feared, when is the next pogrom? When is the next Holocaust?
Right.
This happens throughout all history. It's happened time and time again. We know we need a place to be safe, right? And with with Black Americans, it's the same thing. We are kicking the can. That's the way that I see it.
Yeah. So what's what do we do? How does one act if he wants to be a help in the collective? How can you be a helpful individual if you want to help society move forward in the direction that we're all wanting and believing is true and not true but correct?
I think that my answer will just make most people angry.
That's unfortunate.
No, I mean,
But the truth sometimes sucks. So let's see what you got.
It's like I said, it's something I've given so much thought to, and I can give you all my reasoning behind it.
Mm-hmm.
I can go back and tell you how I got to this conclusion.
Sure.
But
Give us the honey.
I'm just gonna there has to be a form of reparations. There absolutely has to be, because there needs to be compensation for what was done to them, and a way to bring them it doesn't have to be in form of giving everybody a big check. It has to be in a form of lifting people that are below in the basement.
Yeah. When you say reparations, most people that object it think of money.
Yeah, they think, everybody's going to get $1 million, and then they're going to go and buy whatever cars and put whatever rims on them, right? That's what a typical white racist will think.
Right.
But that's not what I mean. I mean,
So that's why I want you to explain, because I know you don't mean that.
what I mean is you give them an opportunity through whatever ways necessary to lift them from that basement that they're in to at least the first floor where most people are at or start at, right? They don't want to black people don't want to conform to be, like white people, right? And you can't blame them because they've had to suffer what they've had, and that has built their own unique identity, right? And it's just like, if we flipped the switch and we said, all right, what if we make all, black people all owners of all the businesses and make them the majority, and then white people need to go in and talk like, like black people do, right? And black people need to adjust the way they speak to try and talk. Yeah, they need to speak, two languages, basically, two dialects. And, if you turn it around, it would, white people would lose their mind. That's what I think, if you'd.
That's a good way to put it. Like, you're not trying to make everybody like you.
Yeah.
We're trying to find the even
field. Somewhere where we can meet in the middle, right?
We can all exist happily, and it's an equal opportunity.
It can't be the only part of black culture that we accept is their music and sports.
Right.
So that's why we could say, oh, why do they're only good for being rappers and playing basketball. But that's all. That's the only place where they find praise from white people is in those areas. They, of course, are capable of doing anything and everything else, but it's limited for them. It's harder because they're not coming from a background of stability. Most of them aren't. In some areas it's better. Some areas it's worse. This is a tough thing to talk about, and I feel even uncomfortable, doing it. But maybe one day or the next time I come out, we can dig deeper into it, because there's really a lot to untangle. I mean, when it comes to racism, when it comes to all of the things that we're going through now to try and handle it, through wokeness, through, what are they? What's the other thing called when woke something? I forget.
Woke culture?
No, just when woke scolding. Have you ever heard of woke scolding?
No, what does that mean?
It's somebody that's so woke that they tell another woke person, you fucking dummy, you racist, you piece of shit. They're the most wokest of the woke, and they just end up being assholes. But this is how things work in culture, anyways, right? We discover something new, like this woke thing, right? We take it to the extreme, and then eventually it finds.
Yeah, that's what I think my friend was trying to say, that we're trying to go the right way, and it just comes with a little bit of growing pains and undesired results. The people either take advantage of it or maybe go take it a little bit too far, and maybe the objective is now not to end racism, it's just to be the most woke.
Right.
And that's not the original intention, but it's a subproduct of it that some outliers are going to pick up and adopt.
Yes, it's
and
better.
We do that on all ends.
Right. It's sometimes it's true. It's better to, it's like negotiating, right? You start. You want to get $100,000. So start at asking a million for it.
Yeah,
and
they say
you're crazy.
If you want to get to the moon, shoot for the stars.
Yeah,
right?
then that's what that's what's happening.
Right.
So that it's a tactic too. And it works. It really fucking works.
Yeah.
Right? We're in the Wild West. I've said it before. I'll say it again.
The internet Wild West.
The internet is the Wild West, and there are yet no laws, not anything really reasonable in place.
Right.
And there probably needs to be. People will hate me for saying that, but you have to have rules. You have to have limits, boundaries, and in everything. Right. Otherwise, you're always going to have people that will take things to the most extreme.
Sure.
And they'll be the guy on 4chan or 8chan that puts a GoPro on his helmet and goes into a mosque and shoots everybody up just for the lulz.
And he did.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, when I think about how to fix this,
yeah,
which is it's one of the questions that takes me to the most clueless state of mind. The only thing that comes to mind that I find some comfort in is this guy, Daryl Davis. Have you ever heard of him? He was actually interviewed like on a million things amongst Joe Rogan too. But he's
I'm not sure.
he's the musician. He's a African American musician,
Yeah.
jazz mostly, improv kind of player, multi-instrument type of dude. And I'm going outside my circle of competence here, saying what he does exactly with instruments. But the point is that his story about converting KKK members.
Oh, you mean the big dude?
Yeah,
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah, he is.
And the common thing with that guy is civil discourse and the
Meet the person where they're at. I'll always
yeah,
say
sure. I love that.
that's-
It's true.
That's what he did.
Meet the
If
person where they're at, and literally, he broke down the process of how this became, like you said,
Yeah.
which is it's an interpretation of what you just said, and said, okay, what creates, this end result? One step backwards, is violence. One step backwards is hate. One step backwards is
Ignorance.
Ignorance. Thank you. So, and what fixes all of that?
Right.
Is conversation, knowledge.
Sure.
Light up the unknown.
Right. Right.
Light up the darkness. And
Yeah.
so many people that you would think, okay, these guys are from the most extreme group that you can imagine, leave because of conversation. It blows my mind. And I'm asking myself, how do you multiply that on the street every day?
So hard.
It's so hard. That's what
there
makes
are
him so
people-
special.
There are people other than him that are like that, right? There are.
Sure, but it's
there-
just uncommon.
there-
We don't have that kind of patience. You can't take that type of spit in your face and still have a conversation.
No.
How can he literally sat there in front of hundreds of people individually, one at a time, hearing the N-word
Yeah.
and thought, no, I'm empathetic, I'm passionate, I'm
Right.
going to change this person's mind, and I'll show him love,
Right.
love.
Right.
And you say that, I mean, the reaction, if you say the equivalent of that to the Jewish
Yeah.
person, to me,
Yeah.
I wouldn't be able to contain myself.
No.
And it would not be a productive conversation. And he does that with hundreds of people.
The other thing is,
How
but
do you do that?
He's willing to, take a beating before he.
Maybe it's because
tries
he's
to
extremely
convert.
confident.
And
He's a big person, and he could smack you with his smitey
well, I
fist.
mean, take
Smite you.
take a beating, like mentally.
I know, but
But
I'm saying
he's-
physical confidence really helps in conversation.
Yeah, but it's also, I don't see it as being up to his responsibility to convert KKK members.
No, it's not. He did it
It's-
as a hobby.
I see. Like, okay, all
That
right.
was his mission. Shouldn't say hobby.
If you would have talked to me 4 years ago, even right,
Yeah.
5 years ago, right, I was on that whole anti-SJW train, that anti-political correctness, but to a real extreme, right? And I realized that at some point that it was making that I was showing, a lot of symptoms of being a racist, right? Not in a very obvious way, but it started to get, to a point where, you hear certain things that Stefan Molyneux says, and, maybe that makes sense. Maybe, some people do have bigger brains than others, and maybe, Ashkenazi Jews are good at inventing certain things, but they're horrible at, architecture because of the way their brains are, right? He has this entire, way of thinking. And I really got into that. And then it for me, getting out of it was, well, when, who was it? When, Yeah, you know what? I'll skip that story. It was going to be about Sargon of Akkad, but then it was Joe
Take
Rogan.
you down a really long road.
Yeah, it was ugly, but it was when all these people that said they're not anti-Semitic, they're not then their tweets got read aloud on Joe Rogan's podcast, and Tim Pool is there to back up Sargon of Akkad, and it says go the tweet that Sargon wrote said Jack Dorsey's partner read it, said go fuck yourself, you fucking kike, Hitler was right, dude, Jews should all be dead, burn. And even Tim Pool was like, he I know we're not going to get into him. He's a grifter. He's a fucking Tim Pool is great. Yeah. Anyways, but he even tried to. It was so bad that he even couldn't come to his defense. And he tried to. He's like, oh, I'm sure, he didn't really mean it like that. Hitler was right. Go fucking, burn, go to the gas chamber, you fucking kike,
Yeah, you can't really misinterpret that one.
And I was a Sargon fan, Carl Benjamin for years, right? And that hit me, and I was just like, all those people that said he was an anti-Semite, they were right.
Yeah.
The whole time I defended him for, 2-3 years, I was wrong. And then
that's just a complete rug pull under your feet.
It was some people it's a process. Some people there's just one moment. Then, I said, well, let me see some people that have debated, Carl Benjamin. Mm-hmm. There's this guy, Destiny, right? Destiny debates Sargon. And Destiny, absolutely. I never heard somebody like this guy before, right? Steve Bunnell, his name is. He's a master debater.
Mm-hmm. Just destroys him.
He's a dorky little guy. Mm-hmm. But he'll take on 5 guys from the alt-right all at once and make them all look goofy, look like shit. And he'll love it. And he was awesome at it. And, his way of seeing things, he's very data-based, something that, I'm not very good at. But there was also another one, and I was very, I was like, why don't the trans people just leave us alone and shut up and this and that. I had that, they're trying to turn everybody gay and trans. That mentality that is becoming much bigger now was me 5, 6, 7 years ago, right? And there was ContraPoints. That's where I got to meet them where they're at. She's converted. So those 2 people have converted, have removed more people from the alt-right and brought them to, a good place without hatred.
Is this the kid?
Yeah, no, he's a skinny one, not the other one.
I'll leave a link for some of his debates here.
That Jontron Debate is fucking fantastic.
Oh, yeah?
Jontron is, he's big. He was one of the biggest gamers, YouTubers, and everything. That's a perfect debate. Mm-hmm. And, yes. Oh, wait, that's the after debate.
That's the after? Yeah. I was not ready. I love that.
Dude, it's a joy to listen to that.
Really?
Because Jontron comes in, and nobody knows Destiny hardly at this point, right? He's a Twitch guy, just, whatever, gamer.
We'll bring him on the podcast.
Yeah, he's a giant now.
Yeah.
He's got, like I said, he's this little skinny dork. Take a look at a video or picture of his fiance.
This is what I love about the internet, like how the things that we exposed.
Yeah.
Kids like that could maybe have been famous, maybe not, but the possibility, the platform to do what they're best at, whether that's play a game or debate alt-right idiots, we would never have that before.
If I had that available when, I was a teenager, when I was in my 20s,
different
me
life
and
route.
stuff that like Jonathan, our uncle, we're doing, I bought a camcorder for $1,000 back then, but what am I going to do, copy it on, VHS for people? I did.
Yeah, really?
But, what is that going to do? If we put our stuff on YouTube, it was just, he was the funniest thing you'd ever seen. But I think I have a plane to catch.
Yeah, we need to get you on the plane.
Yeah.
So to summarize,
Summarize, don't be an asshole. I don't know how we got started on the... We didn't come here... We had no idea what we were going to talk about,
That's
right?
what I love. I hate doing the plan. I love doing life.
Maybe you're right. Maybe you're right.
Yeah. I'll allow you to sometime do the plan, but not always do the plan. That's boring.
I think the plan actually is what gives me so much anxiety that I start shutting down.
That's exactly it. That's Will Smith. That's what he says about jumping out of a plane. He said the whole way there is a complete misery trip.
Yeah.
And, he tells it in a nice, part.
In a Will Smith way.
Multi-part,
Yeah.
Will Smith, gorgeous drama part. But in the area where it all gets alleviated is when he, gets pushed, him and his instructor that he's tied to. And then he said, bliss, So what's the point of the whole anxiety that comes up to that part? It's easy to say, hard to fix, but it's true that we worry about stuff that we cannot control and things we can control. And in both cases, there's nothing to worry about.
That's very true. And things that we think we can control and that we have down packed, right? I wanted to come here and talk about the Sicilian expedition, right? The Athenians going, sending 50,000 men to Sicily, and none of them come back.
We're still going to talk about that. Separate episode.
Right. But that's what I was trying to prepare in my head. But there's steps in telling stories like that. And it's
not like they didn't come back because they hung out.
Yeah, because they decided to become citizens of Sicily.
They wanted to come back.
Yeah, they tried very hard. And it was, it's a great story. It's hardly known.
Told.
Yeah. But I'm glad you convinced me, man. I know you saw that I didn't want to do this, and you kept pushing me.
That's what we do for each other.
Yeah.
Sometimes it works. Sometimes it breaks friendships. You got to take some risks.
Right. No, you're right. I'm really glad now. I feel like, okay, I accomplished something. I did something, and I need more of that in my life.
Heck yeah! Tomorrow ketamine, baby.
Yeah, I'm going tomorrow. I have a ketamine treatment. It's gonna be it's gonna be fun.
We all want some.
I got my playlist and everything.
Nice. All right, we can wrap this up.
All right.
Be nice, people. We all love each other.
Yes, absolutely. And
peace.
No, I was gonna do the peace the fuck out, but that's somebody else does that. All right. Salute.
Salute. Good. Wraps it up.
All right. Thanks for having me.